Hello and welcome to my Audi A4 B5 chassis Avant. Now this car started off as a 1.9 turbo diesel and it was owned by my granddad pretty much from new. So it's a 2000 plate, so now coming up, or is 20 years old. And as I said, he owned it within the first sort of year of it being on the road. Used it every day, etc, etc. We came into ownership of it because Granddaddy's thankfully still with us. He's a legend, but he got another car. This car needed a little bit of work coming to it, and he parked it up. Now this isn't my first B5 chassis car, and I do love these cars. When my partner had a really nice Volkswagen Golf Pirelli edition that she didn't want to run through the winter, we decided it would probably be a good idea to get something, you know, cheap that'll run around. These pretty much are bulletproof, ironically, and that she could use through the winter. Sadly, after putting a bit of money into it, that didn't end up happening. We believe the rings had gone. I mean, she sat around for probably 5 years until we got hold of her. And yeah, we did try to sell it for a little while, but we had no luck. Everybody, we were trying to sell the car as a whole car for £400. But typically with Facebook, etc, we were getting the offers of peanuts. And because it was my granddad's car, I didn't want to let it go for peanuts. You know, I had that sentimental attachment to it because I just, you know, I didn't want to sell it for £100 to someone who couldn't give a toss about it. So, having had a bit of a reputation of building show cars, I've had a couple of front cover cars in the past, and recently just got rid of my Volkswagen Bora, which was on the cover of Performance Volkswagens at the start of the year. This was kind of it's taken over, giving me something to do. Now, the plan when we decided to keep it was just have a bit of cheap fun, you know, have a car that we can take out on a weekend, blast around the back roads, not really worry about it too much because, like the Bora, you're scared to use it in the rain, etc, etc. Now, sadly, because I have had show cars in the past and I have done most of the work as much as I can myself, it's kind of just escalated. With this one, it didn't make sense building it completely standard again because it didn't serve a purpose if it was standard. We've already got cars that do the daily job, and didn't need another one, and it would end up just being fixed and sold, to be honest with you, and that wasn't what we wanted to do. I didn't want to build a show car again because, well, I'd spent enough years doing it. I wanted to have a car for driving reasons. So a track car was the next thing to do. Stroke Sunday blast car. More the other way around. The plan was coilovers, 1.8 turbo, get rid of the diesel that was in it, strip it out, and you know, buy some seats for, they're 150 quid for a pair. Just do it on a budget. Strip the interior out. You know, all the normal race car type of things to do. However, as you may have guessed, with that hanging off the front and these sort of triangles here, that hasn't happened. Completely pulled all the underneath off. That's other than the handbrake cables at the moment, there is nothing attached to it. There's no chassis parts attached to it at all. They are all currently with my powder coater, which I've used since the beginning at Aero Coat, all being powder coated silver. I've got a shelf full of parts over there to upgrade each and every part that goes on. BC Racing coilovers for it. I've got some awesome 1552 podiums that I haven't seen in the country yet. With some Nankang NS something or others, some sticky tyres, And yeah, so the plan at the moment, to keep you up to speed, in case I do make any more of these videos, should be going on a rotisserie. We'll be raptoring the whole floor of the car, all colour coded. So it'll all be Santorini blue underneath. All the parts, which I'm still waiting to collect, will be powder coated silver. I've got some Super Pro bushers for them. I've zinc plated every single bolt in the yellow zinc. I used clear zinc previously on the borer, so I fancy something a bit different to go against the silver of the powder coat. So yeah, we've got some yellow zinc. All the bolts have been reconditioned and yellow zinced. Got some, yeah, those are my new parts, standard parts, upgraded parts, cleaned parts, reconditioned parts. Here's some of the powder coating I've had done. Tank straps, rear beam. I've got Porsche calipers ready for it. Got to rebuild them first. And yeah, we're getting there. So today, as you can see by this pile, my air conditioning, which I've sadly decided to say goodbye to. I wanted to keep it, but with the tubbing of the arches, which I'll now get to, that's not going to happen. So, my cheap £500 1.8 turbo, which was supposed to be going into here, is now not. I've got another engine on the way, which has got 434 brake horsepower, which I found online, so I'm hoping it's going to be a good one. I haven't had the best of luck buying offline, but he sent me videos, he sent me cold starts, he sent me all the bits and bobs you'd expect to ask. Fingers crossed it's going to be as good as it sounds. So, where we're at today. So, to give you an update, underneath is on its way to being fully restored, prepped and upgraded. Interior, stripped. Got dashboard and some seats to go in it, and I have a cage, half cage, not the best. I'll upgrade it and change it later on. Body, it's neither here nor there. I've got the BTCC splitter for it. But the engine bay, now, the problem I've incurred to run the Super Touring Car look from the 90s when Audi campaigned the B5 in the British Touring Car Championship with their four-wheel drive chassis, silver, saloon. You think, everybody loves it. Everybody thinks they look amazing, and they do. Let's be honest, 90s BTCC cars looked fantastic. When you think about replicating one to the extent that I've gone to, and you look into it, you realise they're nowhere near any of the standard cars on the road. They're such a piece of technology that you think you can replicate it, but you can't. The standard engine bays in the like my car looked like this. The BTCC cars, they had suspension mounts in different places. They had engines sat back, and on and on and on. They were custom built beasts. I mean, I don't know the exact figure, but Ford spent absolute fortune campaigning the Mondeo. They're unbelievable cars. If you're bored and you want to look into it, I suggest you do. There's a couple of videos on YouTube about the B5, and they are fantastic. Now, what they all did in the past was run really low. To be able to do that with this car, I've had to sacrifice some of the metalwork in the engine bay, which is down here. Prior to me cutting it out, it went pretty much at an angle up to there. And then you'd have the plastic arch liner sitting there, and they mounted off here. Now, to be able to run low, the arch liners would be in the way. But what I noticed was when I did jig up, and I put the wheel under the arch, even on a slight bit of lock, we were catching this piece of metalwork. So to be able to run the lows that I need to run, I'm going to have to cut that away. So I have. The other problem is, because as I've just said previously, I am building it to be to quite a high standard in regards to the way it's finished. Engine bay's decluttered, batteries the battery would be up there, but I've moved my ABS. My ABS is now going to be mounted in here. Obviously we're in prep stages here, it's all filthy. But yeah, moved the battery to the boot, and I've utilised the battery tray and the original ABS mount. Quite a simple job. Trimmed it all down, bolted it together. I'll make it pretty afterwards so it looks better than it does. But ABS will be hidden under the scuttle, which then declutters the engine bay. Not only was it the purpose of making the engine bay look pretty and decluttered, but it mounted here originally. Now, obviously the problem when we're talking about how we're having to have this clearance is it would then be in the way, and I needed to cut the metal away to have this clearance, which would then leave the ABS floating in no man's land, which obviously isn't going to work. So first job was relocate it, and then that's what sort of led into the point of wanting to do this with the bay, because for us to keep the clearance, I mean, let's be honest, it looks rubbish like that. On a wet, wintry day or a damp day, all that fluid off the road, getting flung up by the tyres, it's all going to go into the engine bay. And when it's been prepped and cleaned and it's looking tidy, you don't want that. Can't run the arch liners because obviously we've had to cut those pieces away. I have wide wings for it, which are up in the box up there. The wide wings don't allow you to attach the guard to the inside of them, so we can't run the arch liners. So with the cutting out of them today, I think what I'm doing is I'm going to buy some Fat Boy Harley Davidson rear guards, and I'll use them to mount here. I've trimmed it back. It's not exactly how I don't know how it's going to be. I could come up here to seam weld it along this seam here and there, but it will come down like this. We only need to come to this point here because the wheel doesn't come any further, and it's the same the other side. Got a bit of a different mounting. Power steering reservoir used to sit on here. That's going up in the back, scuttle as well. Whereas before, header tank wise, header tank was here. I bought an Audi one, just a cheap one off eBay. I'm going to mount that here so the coolant filler point is still at the highest level. So it wouldn't be any different. It's a smaller bottle, more to the style rather than having the big header tank. Previously I'd have hid that or an inline filler, but I've had problems in the past, so keeping the header tank is a priority. But yeah, so for now, our next step will be to tub the arch, both sides. I'm not a fabricator, far from it. I'm just taking a bit more on this time than I have done before, because you've got to learn. And yeah, tack it in. I'll probably let someone else do the work. I'll get it cut up, get it fitted, make some pieces and panels, because it's not all going to fit pristine with one cut of a freaking mudguard off a Harley Davidson. So I'll make the panels, I'll tack them in, and I'll let someone else finish it, and then be off to the paint shop. But yeah, if you have any interest in this build, leave us a comment below, and I'll consider continuing and updating with it. Currently off work at the moment. Got a broken collarbone, and have done for quite a period of time. It's been a bit of a ongoing saga. Work won't allow me back, so I've been able to spend some time on this without taking on too much and not really having to do too much when you've got tools to take over the hassle. But yeah, if it's something you're interested in seeing a bit more of, let me know. And yeah, thank you very much.